Gwen is just an oddball that seemingly knows all about the comic book universe because she's from the real world and she actually collected comic books. So what's gonna happen when she meets an individual like Miles Morales? Welcome to the Complete Story series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then, I read them dramatically back to you after adding in some epic music and a few funny voices. The intentions of this video is to recap your favorite storylines, and all alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Now in our last Gwenpool video, the fun-loving comic book reading girl Gwenpool found herself living in the fictional comic book world. With no superpowers other than knowing the secret identities of the heroes, Gwen was recruited by MODOK as a henchman after killing her somewhat new friend Cecil. With the power of Cecil's ghost, Gwen managed to defeat MODOK by launching him into space and thus freeing the other henchmen from MODOK's terrible working conditions. Standing victorious, she knows that she's an actual superhero in her own series, not just some random MODOK henchman. She really thought she was a henchman for a while there. And from behind her, Batroc says that it's nice that she defeated MODOK, but, well, his employer is on the line wanting to talk to her. Gwen says that she's sorry. She just defeated MODOK like 60 seconds ago. Sue her for wanting some fresh air. Tony steps in asking, why does Gwen not find the person giving MODOK orders as scary as MODOK himself? And Gwen decides that maybe she should take the call. Back inside, a figure tells Gwen that he would like to meet their new representative since MODOK is now gone, so they can continue their working relationship, but they must be discreet about it. After the call, Gwen says that she would love to stick around and help and all, but she'd rather just go back to freelancing. And Batroc tells her that they're all just mercenaries here, so they need to stick together, which is why they're sending her in as the representative, since she defeated MODOK with no superpowers. Gwen says that she's pretty sure she's just in a comic book that got renewed or something, and Batroc tells her that makes no sense, and then he hands her a Metro Pass stating, remember, discreet means street clothes and public transportation. Over in Gwen's room, she begins to tell Cecil the Ghost that she appreciates him not using his ghost powers and watching her change. Real solid ghost move there. And he says, yeah, about that. Can we talk about the whole returning as a ghost thing? She shouts, oh my gosh, of course! Dr. Strange said given the circumstances of your death, you would be returned to avenge your death and reach peace. But Cecil stops her, stating that he's pretty sure he was at peace. All he remembers is being zapped to death and then waking up after his skull was thrown. Gwen runs over grabbing a book, stating that Dr. Strange also gave her this book, so he should probably read it while she's out. And she hands him the book, but it just drops through his hands as she says, yeah, learn some tips. A short while later in the subway, Gwen begins to panic as she sees who just sat in front of her. Miles Morales stares at Gwen as she nervously says that she's totally a big fan of his work, you know, and she motions her hands into shooting webs. Thwip, thwip. Miles' eyes widen because his secret identity was just outed, and he rushes out of the train car. She runs chasing after him, asking what's wrong, and as she steps out, a web wraps around her arm and yanks her up. He shouts, who are you? And how do you know who I am? Inside Gwen's head, she tells herself that she needs to make sure she doesn't sound crazy. So she tells him that she's just a normal girl with secret knowledge from a dying watcher. He begins to think about that for a moment. He tells her, okay, but what am I supposed to do with you now? Gwen suggests that maybe they should probably just get on the next train, you know, or they can hang from the ceiling in the subway. And a little while later, Gwen walks with Miles to his school as he tells her that he would love to sit and talk about watchers and dangerous knowledge and whatever, but he's already late for class, and suddenly a giant explosion goes off in the school. Miles says that he's gotta hurry and get in there, so he rushes in behind a bush to change, and Gwen asks, how are we gonna do this? Web slingshot through the window? Probably web slingshot through the window. And Miles stops her, telling her that she's just a normal person, and she responds by telling him that he's not a fireman, so they should just focus on saving the day. So as Miles puts on his mask, he remembers that his last encounter, it got tore up, which is why he was on the subway to begin with. His mask doesn't work with holes in it. So Gwen holds the mask together while Miles webs it back into one piece, and the two of them rush into the burning building. As Miles searches for survivors, Gwen begins to cough, stating that next time she needs to get a flame-resistant suit. And Miles says that he knew he shouldn't have brought her in here. He then webs Gwen and a few of the survivors together. Gwen asks if she's just supposed to give them some comforting hugs and then Miles flings her and the survivors out of the window. After cleaning up the school, Miles heads back home alone, and as he enters his home, his mother says a friend from school stopped by. Miles thinks about it for a moment, and then Gwen steps out from the corner telling him, you've got to study, buddy! Miles' mother says that she's glad that everyone at the school is safe, but Gwen mentioned that they have a team assignment to do. Gwen follows up by telling him, yeah, totally big project, and then she leans in towards Miles, stating that they need to figure out the mysterious bomb. bombing! Miles tells his mother that they do, and she says that's fine. Just make sure you keep the door open. Back at the giant mobile fortress that the entire organization of mercenaries works out of, Batroc says that it seems like Gwen didn't make it to the meeting. Soon a display shows an incoming call from space, and Tony begins to panic, thinking that it could be MODOK. Batroc tells him to relax as he answers the call, and aliens appear on the screen, looking rather angry and speaking in their weird alien language. And as they go on, they hold up a picture of Gwen, who took a selfie after killing another alien like them. Back over in Miles' room, Gwen looks around and Miles tells her that he appreciates the help back at the school, which really wasn't helping, but this is where they should really part ways. Gwen says that they can split now, but she totally knows secret stuff here. Gwen then asks Miles if he remembers when he snuck into the school and ran into a guy in an abandoned art room. Miles says yeah, he totally forgot about that. Gwen goes on to state that at that time he didn't see it, but that guy was actually hiding something, so they need to figure out who that guy is. Miles says that the kid's name is Damien and they have English lit together, though he's not really sure where this is going. Gwen then tells him that he's only in this universe because in the other universe he was important. Important characters made it here from the Ultimate Universe when it was destroyed. She continues stating that Damien was brought here because maybe the writer didn't want to drop the whole school bomber storyline. Miles stops her, asking what is she even talking about? Writer, Ultimate Universe? So she says, okay, wait, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I come from another world, one where I can see what happens in this universe, so just trust me on this. And Miles tells her that she's not making it very easy. A little while later, over at Damien's house, the doorbell rings while he's working on another bomb. As he gets up to check on the door, he sees no one there. But before the door shuts, Gwen sticks her foot in to catch it. He heads back to his room in a hurry, and Miles is holding the explosive, asking why did he do it. Damien asks how did he find him, and Miles thinks of the school directory and says it was my spider sense. Damien then goes on stating that he bombed the school because of the lottery school system and its symbol of inequality. He then goes on explaining that it's just an unjust system, and Damien begins to think that that's actually the first time that he's said it out loud before. Miles then asks if he should just knock him out before he hands him over to the cops but Damien begins to flee out of the room, and as he does, Gwen jumps in his way holding a gun shouting, "Hi! Any last words, foul villain?" Gwen fires her gun and Miles jumps in, knocking Damien down. And then she says, "Great! Now he's just passed out." And Miles shouts, "Because you tried to kill him!" A few moments later, Damien's mother runs in asking what's going on and begins to panic seeing Damien on the floor. Gwen starts to climb out the window telling her to chill out. Her supervillain in the making is totally fine. No thanks to Spider-Man here. She then runs into the yard telling Miles to hurry up. They have to figure out how to take him out another day. But before she can get very far ahead, Miles throws a web rope around her neck and pulls her back. He demands to know why, and Gwen says that he tried to blow up the school. He isn't important, he's just a plot device, a B storyline. Miles tries to understand, but Gwen says, "You're just in a comic book." Gwen then shoots the web, stating that she knew they should have started with a fight. That's why they team up after a misunderstanding. That's how superhero team-ups work. You fight and then you team up. She then pulls out her knife and Miles punches her. After tying her up to a telephone pole, Gwen tells Miles that he's supposed to pull his punches, and he tells her he did. But now he's leaving her for the police. The last thing he's going to do is let a murderer run around on the loose, and then he swings away. Gwen then begins to cry, stating that she's not crazy. Later, Gwen is booked and placed into the jail where she sits in her cell. She tells the officers that she would like to see her lawyers. After being ignored, she lays on her bed, and then suddenly she hears a bomb go off in the distance. The officers begin to run towards the sound, but then there's another explosion knocking everyone away. And through the hole in the wall, an officer sees a mobile fortress, and Gwen says that her lawyers are here. Batroc helps Gwen, stating that they found her because they saw her on the news and it looked like she had a busy day. And that's when Tony fills her in that they're currently working on a defense against the aliens that are currently in a round to take over the planet. As everyone begins to leave, Gwen stands there thinking how all of this really isn't that fun. The comic book world should be more fun. And that concludes issues 5 and 6. Now the next arc is Gwen versus the aliens, and we find out the mastermind behind everything. And trust me, it is a good storyline. Gwenpool's probably one of the few storylines that came out recently, like brand new superheroes from Marvel, that I've really been enjoying every single issue of. And I hope you guys do as well. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel to keep up to date on Gwenpool, and you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Comicstorian, where we can go over all your favorite comic books. I'll see you next time.